Thanks for coming on today. We are in the process of doing these interviews so that we can kind of get the word out about Battle of the Boot. And I don't think there's, Steve, I don't think there's a better junior college tournament in the country. And we've invited, some national teams here. And when I talk to you about it, is we never get these teams, not never. I mean, we're able to get some of them, but to get them to play on a neutral site rather than having to go to their place to play them, right? So um, to have us hosted here is a great thing, and it gives all of us a chance to get after somebody, and go get it. So um, we're excited to have you guys here. I've watched a little bit of you guys in jamborees, and you look as usual. Again, hard to play against, really smart. You do a heck of a job. I know when I made the brackets, I didn't want to be the person playing you first. So a lot of respect from me and CSI, and we're excited to have you here on this call. We have Adam Engel, who is from our local newspaper, Brevin Monroe, who is from our local TV station, Caleb Jones, who's our assistant SID here. And what we're trying to do is promote your program, let our fans know about you guys, and maybe hopefully the national media will see some of these things, and hopefully you'll get some good wins here.
Well, first off, I appreciate the kind words. That's almost too complimentary towards what we've done and where we're going. But and you weren't joking when you said you're going to put a tournament together and it's going to be some of the best teams. When you emailed me this summer with the teams and the teams' names, I can't lie. I started laughing, going, "Oh my goodness, I'm definitely going into a Tigers den."
Yeah.
Teams like South Plains and Monroe and East Florida and CSI, North Idaho and Casper. I mean, you're not joking. I mean, those are blue bloods of junior college basketball without a doubt. So we're excited to see where we stand, no question.
So, Coach, um, tell us a little bit about yourself so that our fans can know a little bit about you and where you came from and where you coached and how you ended up Western Wyoming.
It's been an interesting journey. I'm excited to get to Twin Falls in the first place. I think the last time I got there, CSI definitely took me behind the woodshed. But it's a special place because I did my undergrad for Eddie Sutton at Oklahoma State, and
Wow.
I'm a JUCO Johnny. Knowing that Coach Sutton helped establish CSI with his first coaching job, it does have a special place to me. Knowing that my mentor, a guy that I take a lot of pride in, and especially love working for him, and how much he cherished that place as well as his other stops along the way. Um, I was at Oklahoma State from 1998 to 2002, and it was a special experience. One thing that really pushed me into coaching, because I honestly wanted to be an accountant, for crying out loud, and go make money. Coach Sutton actually told me to go become an accountant and make money, but I didn't heed his advice too well. Got into coaching, kind of took the long way around, spent some time at Northern Oklahoma College in Enid, moved on to Fort Scott, Kansas. Had the privilege to work for Gene Iba at Pittsburgh State for a year. So I do understand the Sutton lineage more than anything in the world. Spent some time with Eddie Trinkle. His father
Yeah.
was another
Oh, yeah. Man,
CSI
you worked
legend.
for some legends. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been around some phenomenal individuals along my path, and I I spent 10 years with Eddie, and got to know Fred really well, and Nita really well. So I look forward to hopefully seeing them when we're up there as well. Um, I was actually going to get out of coaching and pursue a business career at the age of 40, and I finally got an offer to become a head coach at Western Wyoming at the age of 40. I took a risk, took a job that was very low budgeted, very low paying as a head coach, and over the past 6 years, we've been able to build a program that has been fortunate enough to develop three All Americans, win over 65% of our games, not playing prep schools or Division two JUCOs or anything like that. We've won region championship in 2020. Unfortunately, we weren't able to go compete at the national tournament, which Um, Still breaks my heart
Oh,
because
no.
that was my second year. We were 30-4,
Wow.
and those guys bought in. And so one thing that we try to talk about, which we try to talk about building a family and a culture, uh, kind of emulating that of the South Plains and the CSIs, something that the town and community can be proud of. And that's what we do talk about with our kids as much as we can.
Tell us about your team. Tell us about the player that you're going to bring, and just tell us about your program.
Honestly, I haven't really decided what player I'm going to bring. When we spoke about this tournament this summer and the purpose behind it, spreading the importance of mental health, especially nowadays, it kind of brings back the tradition and the stuff that I learned through Coach Sutton. Make sure that all my players know I love them. You know, and I tell them in the recruiting process, during 2 hours out of the day, it's extremely difficult. Playing for me is hard. But with that being said, when we walk off the court, we want to make sure our kids understand we do have resources on campus. They could come in and have closed door meetings with us and talk on a personal level outside the court. And I think that's one of the most important things. Uh, you know, the fact that we are a family and we're going to have disagreements and probably go butt heads a lot of the time um, is something that we talk about constantly during the recruiting process as well. But the most important thing is we are together as a unit. When we talk about our team, I went a little bit different this year. I basically, I think 6 of my 15 kids are international kids. I've had a lot of success with international kids. But I will say this during the process of recruiting international kids, I mean, we got to keep this in mind that these are 18, 19-year-old babies leaving their countries for the first time. And so during this process, we do an extensive um, communication about what we can provide for them. When they go across the world in a different country in a different world, basically. And let's be honest, in Rock Springs, Wyoming, where it's cold and snowy and windy, that's something we have to reassure their parents that we will support them as much as we can mentally. When we recruit international kids this past year, I did a little bit more due diligence, getting to know their parents on a personal level, having conversations with the parents on the personal level, face to face, through FaceTime and Zooms, and they have access to me, so they know that their children are in the right hands. Um, our team this year is probably the biggest team I've ever had. I normally take a lot of kids out of Colorado, some kids out of Utah, but this year we're probably bigger than we've ever been. We're probably deeper than we've ever been because of the time we spent fundraising money trying to honestly get our program back to where it was a couple of years ago. Um, I think also with that being said, this is probably my least experienced team I've had since my first year. And so it's kind of been a tussle trying to figure out who's the leader, who's the guy who's going to bring them together when we're struggling. And so it's a process where we've had different guys step up through the month of October. So I'm really interested to see when we actually put this together in a game with the media timeouts, with the rule change of the media timeouts, with the rule change of 30-second timeouts, with who's mentally tougher to deal with adversity and maintain course. And that's probably the biggest thing that we're trying to develop right now with our guys is, you know, pressure's a privilege, but the privilege is also playing a game and getting an education and understanding how grateful our situation is. And like I said, it's a process because like Coach, you probably know this is the X's and O's are the easiest part of the game. That's probably 2% of what we do. The
Yep.
other 98% is trying to get these guys to understand that I am stronger with you and you and you if you're willing to let your guard down and trust in what we're trying to build. And that's probably one of the most difficult things in the world when you only have kids for 2 years and trying to develop them at the most important time.
I have a great appreciation for my peers and what they're doing. And when I get to talk to you guys, I really there's things that I go, man, I got to touch on that again. I got to do this again. And I think about my team, about the comments you made about let them to know that you love them. And I think my guys know that too. But you kind of held me in check there, Coach. I need to keep getting better. So, Adam Engel from our local newspaper. Do you have any questions, Adam?
Yes, sir. Yeah, Coach. I was just looking at your roster, and I noticed that it seems like you guys only have two returning sophomores. Could you just talk to me a little bit about those guys, and then also the impact transfers that you have as well?
I, you know, Amari and Trevon are um, two sophomores who kind of struggled as freshmen, trying to understand the importance of time management, commitment to the gym, being able to trust and communicate. But after a year of experience with us and what we want to do, those guys have come out and competed their tails off. Amari's a 6'4" kid who played at Utah Prep. Out of Hawaii. So I mean, you can only imagine the culture shock he had from leaving the beaches of Hawaii to come to Rock Springs, Idaho.
Yep.
And he's done an amazing job. He's the type of kid we're going to try to put on the best offensive player. He's a kid who has a lot of grit. Who's learned how to become a leader and learn to communicate the right way. Trevon is the same way. His dad is actually part of the last national championship Dixie State under Jeff Kidder. His dad played for Jeff Kidder, so he's very familiar with the type of grind and the physicality of the game. And his dad's done a great job helping him mature, becoming a leader. His dad actually took him to Panama, from where his dad was born and raised, and he worked a lot of camps, and it was really amazing the eye-opening experience that he had in trying to become a leader. We constantly talk about books and trying to read, and he's always, "Well, Coach, what book are you reading? How can I grow to become a better leader?" And we try to teach these kids to become better leaders. And Trevon and Amari have done a heck of a job going from not necessarily a prominent role on last year's team as freshmen, but they've done a great job in communicating, trying to articulate how hard college basketball is. And they've experienced success, not consistently, but they've experienced success last season, and I am hoping it's going to continue to grow this upcoming season.
Thank you.
Adam,
Coach,
anything else?
yeah, so and then of those transfers that you have, who do you expect to just kind of make a really big impact? Just kind of looking, there's a guy from Eastern Wyoming, Coffeyville, Vincennes, all on your roster.
I think, my two kids, my three transfers, the reason I did recruit them is because of the experience. We took Makai Tarver out of Salt Lake. He's a little bit of an older kid. He kind of got hurt. He got hurt during his COVID year, missed the next year, then finally went to Eastern and played. He had success in our league, averaged about 17 a game. Just great touch around the rim. William, the kid from Vincennes, he played for the Swedish national team growing up. I tried to recruit the heck out of him out of Sweden, and he ended up going to Vincennes and didn't get much playing time. So he's experienced, but not experienced when it comes to the junior college level. Alvin had success at Coffeyville. I think he averaged like 6 and 6 and just a kind of rim run and roll. But I recruited those three to hopefully be able to come in and make an immediate impact. All three have come in with a workman's mentality. All three come in with no excuses. And what's even more important that I like them is they're all 3.8, 3.9 students. Makes my life easier where we can just focus on the basketball aspect of it. William's kind of an inside-outside type of kid. Alvin's starting to stretch out his game a little bit where he's able to put it on the deck and create his own. And so, in essence, we're trying to find those are three kids I felt could come in and play the style that I like to play.
Thank you.
Raymond.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned all the international kids that you have on your team. I'm just wondering how you go about selecting them, and then also, what is kind of your pitch to get them to, join your squad over there in Rock Springs?
Um, I've done this like Coach and I have been in this for so long, and we develop long-term relationship with coaches who trust us, coaches who know what we look for in kids, hard-nosed, blue-collar kids who are coachable. Yeah, you could be the most athletic, you could be the most skilled, you could be all that, but if you're not a kid who can fit a certain system, it's not going to work out. I do have a lot of acquaintances across the world who I've been fortunate to build friendships with and relationships with, who watch us play and watch the style I like to play. I know I don't have the funds to travel overseas, and so I watch a lot of film. I mean, I think I've watched 10 games of William between his sophomore to senior year. I watched every game he played in the FIBA Nationals this past summer because I wanted to make sure he was the right fit. And so I really watch a lot of film, trying to break things down, see if it gets tough enough. And then obviously you get to know them on the personal level. It's not a sales pitch to get to Rock Springs. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, how many people are dying to move to Rock Springs? So it's trying to make them understand this is an investment. This is a 2-year investment of, most importantly, an academic investment. I mean, it's an investment for their future to be able to do something outside of basketball. The second investment is investing into a basketball player. If they don't have this as their top priority, they are not going to find success here. It's not your typical college where you can go out and there's 6, 7, 8, 9 sports. There's not a traditional student body. And so we do take our time to do our due diligence to find the right kids. And one of the first things I do tell them, I'm not easy to play for. You're going to find out you're going to probably hate me. It's going to be a very love-hate relationship. You're going to hate me while you're here, but when you leave and understand the discipline, you're going to understand the love of what we're trying to accomplish.
Caleb.
Yeah, Coach. I just kind of want to touch on the Battle of the Boot in general. Obviously, we have these great blue bloods that you mentioned coming in, but just the format of the tournament. It's very unique in a way when it comes to preseason basketball in the junior college level. What is it about, this true tournament style, not necessarily a win or go home, but win in advance, 3 games in 3 days? What kind of challenges and or opportunities does that bring for your program?
I think it's a great opportunity because, it's a traditional tournament that, if you win your first night, you have to prepare basically for a semifinal game in the region tournament. If you lose your first game or your second game, it becomes a pride thing. And it's going to help us as coaches develop a sense of competitive nature amongst kids. It's not your typical AAU tournament where you just play and play and play and play. We're going to look at it as a 3-day tournament, but it's a 1 day at a time. You get past the first game, you got to get mentally ready to prepare a particular opponent. However, if you do lose, you still have to prepare yourself because, you're still representing pride and trying to get over the small adversity that you might face on a loss to better yourself for the next game. I think I think it's awesome personally, because it allows us to see our kids in a competitive situation. One thing that we talked yesterday about is you got to have pride in everything you do, and you got to have passion towards it, and you have to invest everything you do, because when you lose, it has to hurt. Okay, you have to love it so much it has to be painful. But with that being said, you also have to be able to deal with and compartmentalize it to continue to grow for the next opportunity. And it just happens to be the next day, regardless if you win or lose, and which is doesn't happen very often.
Coach, I'm sitting here listening to you talk. I understand why your team's tough. They take on your personality.
I think my favorite game was when we went up and met in Preston.
Oh yeah, okay.
It was a
I
freaking
forgot about that one, to be
bloodbath.
honest. Coach is built for these tournaments. I'm telling you. He's going to have them prepared, and it's going to be miserable. And I think you play Eastern Florida State.
I got Eastern Florida, and then depending CU or the All Stars. I saw your team this weekend, and God, you're big and athletic as usual. So I think you guys, honestly, you guys shoot the ball so well.
Coach, we're excited to have you here. Thanks for taking the time. Look forward to seeing you.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys.
All right.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.